Supernnovas, I'm Mari, and for today's How to Be a VTuber video, I'm going to show you how to become a 3D VTuber for free. 3D modeling is much more unified and there's a lot of baseline consistency. You can have a lot of customization without needing to know how to draw or any animation. So in this video, I'm gonna go over how to find free assets for your VTuber, creating your avatar with VRoid Studio and exporting it correctly, and then showing you how to set up your model for streaming. This might be a long video, so I'll include some timestamps for your convenience. Let's take a quick moment to go over the different modeling programs, because there are a few different 3D modeling programs such as Maya, Blender, Unity, Miku Miku Dance, and VRoid Studio. I'm sure there are a lot more out there, but I'm not really aware of them. As you can see, there are a ton of different ways to make a VTuber avatar, but I personally recommend VRoid Studio because of how user-friendly it is and the fact that it gives you bases to start creating your avatar right away. VRoid Studio is especially great for people who don't have any animation or drawing skills. Alright, so let's go to the VRoid Studio website and then download the program. Once it's finished downloading, all you have to do is just install it on your computer. Once it's finished, you just launch it. As you can see, it shows you right away the bases that you can choose from, so select whatever gender that you want to work with. And here are all the features of VRoid Studio. You can adjust all sorts of things with the different sliders right here. You can adjust the eyes, the body shape, the height, really anything that you want to with your own preference. Like, if I wanted to, I could adjust my nose width if I wanted to, or the position. Like, the amount of customization that you have in this is just amazing. Over here, you can create your hair, and something cool about the hair in VRoid Studio is that the physics that are already built into the program, you can do all sorts of just amazing things. Like, you can make little wings for your character, you can add tails, you can add ears. There's a ton of different stuff you can do with VRoid Studio. One VTuber I recommend watching is Argumenta Witch if you're interested in hair tutorials, because she does an amazing job with that. You can change the style of clothing, which, keep in mind, you can only use these styles in VRoid Studio, so when you're trying to mess with the textures, just be aware of that. Once you're done changing the body and face shape to how you like it, then we can go find some free assets and presets for our model. There are a lot of easy cut and paste options to quickly make your model. You can find presets like that on Booth, Pixiv, DeviantArt, and Twitter. I'm sure there are tons of other websites where you can find free VTuber assets on, but these are the most common ones that I've seen and used. To make this video simpler for you, we'll only use Booth. So some things that I want to point out about Booth is that it's similar to Etsy, where many artists can upload a whole variety of art, music, and merchandise. Most artists do a great job at tagging their posts, so it's easier to navigate and find. The website is also in Japanese, but don't worry, you can just right-click and then do translate to English if you're using Google Chrome. But it's better to know the Japanese tag for different things because not many artists will include English tags. Luckily for us, on the homepage, there are two very specific VRoid hashtags that you can use right now, which one of them is for hair sets and the other one is for clothes and for skin textures. So let's go through and do a little shopping. We'll start with the hair first. Some stuff on here is free, some of it you pay for, and other stuff says it costs something, but that's just what Booth listed the price as because it's the artist's support option. So make sure to look carefully at each item to see if it's actually free or not. Plus, it doesn't hurt to support the artist too sometimes. What I really like about Booth is how much free material there is on here that can be used for VTubing. Besides finding presets for your model, you can also find background music, streaming assets like backgrounds, overlays, accessories, graphics, and so much more. Some people even offer a whole VRM file to use. This is perfect if you literally just want to download a cute waifu and immediately start streaming. Although be sure to give credit to the model that you're using and make sure you read the artist's terms of services, because some models can't be used for commercial purposes, some can't be used for not safe for work content, and there are other rules to keep in mind of. Also, another thing, when looking at full models, make sure they are in the VRM format because some people sell VR chat models on here, and unless if you're planning on using VR chat or a VR set, you would need to know how to use some programs like Blender or Unity to convert the file into VRM that can be read in various VTubing live stream softwares. This is the same for accessories on here because you would have to add it to your model using a different program other than VRoid Studio. I also wanted to point out on DeviantArt there are a lot of presets too, like clothes, hair, and skin, but most likely they'll all be in PMX file, which is another file type, and to use those on your avatar, especially if it's in a VRM file that you exported from VRoid Studio, then you'd have to take it into an application like Miku Miku Dance or Blender to attach those presets, then convert that to VRM when you're done. There is a lot of tutorials on how to do these two things if you end up going that route. Since not everyone wants to make accessories out of hair, some people just simply want to drag an accessory such as wings or horns or bows to their model. So if you want to go that route, here are some videos I recommend on watching on how to add those items to your model, which I'll link down below. Thankfully on Booth, looking at the hair, clothes, and skin presets are all neatly made for VRoid Studio, and all you have to do is import it into the program and load it on the texture file when you're editing. It only takes a few seconds, and there's a lot of free presets that people make on this website. Okay, so now that we have our presets downloaded, let's start by adding them to our model. So if you go over to the eye area, do you see how there's all these different options for like expression or texture? Because this is where you're gonna wanna go. And you see how there's all these different options like the scala, the eyeline, the eyelashes, the irises, etc. This is where we're going to be importing our textures, so hopefully you remember where you saved your assets. So let's start with the iris, and if you go over here to the default image, you're gonna right click on it and press import. Hopefully you remember where you downloaded all of your texture files, and then all you gotta do is just click on the PNG that you want to import, and then it gets imported. Granted, some of these are gonna have to be tweaked a little bit, like this one in particular, I'd have to adjust it a bit more. So let's pick a different one that will be a little bit easier. See how the model changed? Now let's do this for the rest of the eyes. Some artists label their texture files in Japanese, so if it looks weird when looking at your file name, just use trial and error because you'll be able to tell right away if you put the wrong texture file in one of those boxes. Alright, now let's add the clothing presets. In order to do this correctly, you need to make sure you are using the right clothing file, since there are a lot of different styles, so in order to correctly input the clothing texture, make sure you read on the artist's page what clothing style they use to manipulate in VRoid Studio. Most of the time artists include that, but if for some reason if they don't, you're gonna have to do a lot of trial and error until it looks right. And now we move on to the hair. Hair presets are a little tricky to import since it's not as simple as updating the texture file like the other assets, unless if you're making your hair from scratch pretty much. So here's how you import your hair preset. First, you want to go over to the preset file and you want to rename it to something that's a little bit easier to remember because you definitely don't want to have multiple folders labeled preset 13. Then you're going to take the folder and you're going to press cut, go over to your search bar and type in %app_data percentage and click on that folder. Then from here, you're gonna go back and click on the app data to local low. Then you're gonna go all the way to Pixiv to VRoid Studio. And here you will see your hair presets that you can now just paste the folder into. And that's how you add hair presets onto your VRoid Studio application. Once you've imported that, all you gotta do is go to the drop down menu and click one of the presets and then press import from preset. You may have to reopen the application just so that way it can reload those files. So make sure you save over on the top left before you do that. And there you go. This is good to test out a variety of different hairstyles, especially if you ended up not liking the original hair set that you went with. Now that I showed you the basics of VRoid Studio, I'm gonna go ahead and start tweaking the model a bit more to my liking because I think I want to use some different presets that I've chosen so far. So I'm gonna fast forward a little bit and then show you how to export your model. So something I kind of want to add here while I'm doing this are that some people might not have a webcam and only have a microphone, which is totally okay. There are free programs out there that you can use your 3D model with, and it will only require your microphone or even just your keyboard and mouse. When we get to the section of the video later on about setting up your model for streaming in the video, I'm going to be specifically using a program called VSeeFace since I do have a webcam and I want to use perfect sync tracking for my model. If you're interested in me doing future tutorials on other VTubing capturing softwares, then let me know in the comment section down below. Alright, now that we have our model looking all cute, let's go ahead to the export button. You go all the way over to camera and exporter, and then over here you can mess with a whole bunch of like different poses and animations. So if you kind of wanted to see how your character looked while you added all of those awesome cool things to your model, this is how you do it. You can also add like your own little background if you like, and all these different poses and stuff is really cool if you're trying to take little icon photos, or if you want to upload them to social media, just really nice photo op buttons, which you'll just press capture when you're ready. You can also upload it to Vroid Hub, which I'm going to do in a minute. Let's go over the export button. So you go over to the export button, and then over here, you'll fill out all the information, choose your save file location, and export. Now that your model is all finished and exported, I want to show you one additional step with something cool that you can do with your Vroid avatar. Since Vroid Studio does a great job at giving your model all the bone structures and physics it needs to stream, there are some programs in VSeeFace that allow perfect sync tracking for your VTuber, and that's going to require some additional bone structures that's not made by default in Vroid Studio. So let me show you how to add that, and if you're not interested in having perfect sync for your avatar, then you can skip ahead to the next section. To get perfect sync for your model without needing to know anything about Unity or really having to do any programming at all, you want to go on Booth and download the Hana app. It costs $15, but it's totally worth it because the other version that you used to have to do would require you to actually know Unity. This is literally just an application that you can just click on and it does it all for you. So once you've installed the Hana app, all you're going to do is click on it and it's going to load the program already, and then you'll click on this button right here and you're going to select your VRM file that you just exported from Vroid Studio. And what's really nice about this is that if you're using a Vroid Studio model, all you gotta do is click on this clip option and it starts to automatically clip everything that's perfect sync to your model. And if you wanted to adjust how the blend shape looks, say for example, I feel like this is a little too big, you just scroll down to where that value is, and right here is where the eye is, and you can adjust it if you want it to be a little bit smaller, such as that. And you can go through each and every one of these steps and adjust them if you want, but if you're actually pretty happy about this, then you really don't need to, because it does a pretty good job on already getting your perfect sync just automatically if you're using Vroid. If you're not using Vroid and you made your model with, Blender or Unity, just any other application that wasn't already in a Vroid Studio, then you're gonna have to adjust these settings manually, but there's a guide on how you can do all of that, and I'll link all of that information down below in the description. Once you've done that, you're going to press this button here. This means to go back, and you're going to click this save button, and you're going to save it anywhere on your desktop. You can rename it if you want to, but this is going to let you know that this is the one with the perfect sync. And that's it. Your model now has perfect lip sync. So before we add our model to our streaming software, we need to take this VRM file and add it to a VTuber capturing program. There are tons of both paid and free programs that you can use. Here is a list of some of the ones that I know, but I'm sure that there's way more than what I have here on this list. But just to simplify it for this video, I'm going to show you VSeeFace. So I downloaded VSeeFace, and here you can import your VRM file, select your webcam, microphone, and then you can start the application. You can adjust your model's position and the size in here, and then change some of the wind physics. You can also add expressions and all sorts of other cool things for your VTuber model. I won't go too in depth on how to navigate VSeeFace in this video, so I'm just going to show you the basics on setting up for streaming. I'll have a link for a much more detailed tutorial on VSeeFace down below. Something to keep in mind about VSeeFace is that it updates often, so if for some reason your model stops working properly later on, check the website to see if there's an update. Alright, let's start adding our model to our streaming software. It doesn't matter if you use OBS or Slobs, just pick whatever works best for your PC. I have a 2 PC setup, so my dedicated streaming PC uses Slobs because I enjoy using the toggling feature of separating what is shown on my stream versus what actually gets recorded. Maybe there's a way for me to do this in OBS Studio, but I haven't really looked that much into it. Anyways, open up your streaming software, add a new source, go to Game Capture and select VSeeFace, and make sure to select the transparency button and then add it to your scene. And there you have it. I got my model right here and I'm ready to stream. I hope this video is helpful to you and straightforward on how to become a 3D VTuber, since I know many of you want to become one for free. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up, and if you have any other VTuber related questions you would like answered in another video, then comment down below. I have been reading a lot of the comments you all have been leaving on my VTuber videos, and I think I'm going to make a VTuber Q&A video answering some of the most common questions getting asked on all of my videos. Thanks so much for watching, Bobas. Tune in till next time. Bye!